Hey, everybody. Welcome to the One Amazing Life podcast. My name is Chris Stewart, and we are excited that you are joining us on this week's show. As always, I am joined by my other co-host, my main man, and his name is...
Hey, this is Jamie Nelson joining you guys. Hey, Chris, I just want to point out, man, you're wearing a hat today. What's going on with that, man? Why are you wearing a hat?
Well, first of all, hats are very stylish, Jamie. But second of all, this is kind of like my Rocky hat. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're in the midst of a spiritual warfare in life right now, so I'm getting a little bit of extra help. I decided to tone it down a little bit.
Well, it looks good. It looks pretty dapper for a hat. I'm just wearing a regular old baseball hat, but you got a good-looking hat on today, so I want to say well done. Well done.
Cool, Jamie. So I'm pretty excited today. As always, man, we are doing a podcast that is for teens and young adults, by teens and young adults. And now it's cool. Today we are talking about mission trips. We're talking about how we serve in other countries and things like that. So without any further ado, man, let's jump right in. I'm going to introduce our esteemed guests, all of which I know and think are awesome. So I'm excited to share their stories with the world today. We're going to start off with my first guest. He is sitting here to my right. His name is...
Hey, guys. It's Ezra.
Now, Ezra has been on the show numerous times. He's one of the fan favorites. Ezra, how old are you? And tell us a little bit about your favorite subject in school.
I'm 16, so I'm a junior in high school right now. And my favorite subject, probably math, just because I'm like the best at it, better than like all my other subjects.
It's good to know. That's good to know. I could always use some help on math, so I'm going to write that down real quick. Okay, and our next guest, she's coming to us live, and her name is?
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Sydney, great to have you back on the show as well. And Sydney, now, how old are you? And tell us a little bit about your sports career.
I'm 17 and I play basketball. And I'm hoping to go to college to play.
Any particular college that you have in mind, in case they're listening?
Yes, I would like to go to the Air Force Academy.
Awesome. And I'm sure that it's great. I've seen you play before, and God has definitely blessed you with that gift. So awesome job on that. And ending our introductions, last but not least, my main man, his name is?
I'm Matt.
Matt, thanks for coming back on the show. Always good to have you here as well. And Matt, what is your age? And tell us a little bit about your music career.
I'm 16. I've been playing drums for many years, and I'm in the worship band at our church.
You're killing it every week back there on the Skins. Is that what kids are saying nowadays?
I guess so.
Cool. All right. Well, let's jump into the show because I know we're all waiting for this one. Now, before we get started, though, Jamie, could you give us a little kind of definition on what a missions trip is, or how that whole world kind of unfolds, so we get an idea what it actually looks like for the people that aren't really familiar with that?
Yeah, that's a great question because, not everyone knows what a mission trip is. You think about a mission and all of a sudden you're like, hey, what is that? Like when I was in fourth grade, I visited a mission in California history or something like that. You don't really know what that word is. But basically, a mission trip is this. It's when you take a trip and you have a mission on your trip. And what is the mission? It's to spread God's love. So that can be usually in two different categories. One of them would be someone who would be considered a missionary, and they go on a full-time, long-term mission trip that would be like a year or even as much as a lifetime. Some people go out for their entire lives on a mission trip, and they move somewhere to spread the love of God. And then some people do what we call short-term mission trips, and those could last anywhere from like a day or a weekend to maybe a month, something like that. And so today I think we're kind of looking at this sort of short-term mission trip idea where people go out to a place they're not familiar with or a country that they wouldn't normally be familiar with, and they go there to spread God's love in different ways.
Sweet. Thank you. That definitely helps clarify, because I'm kind of like you, right? Growing up, like I was taught missions, I would hear these stories of people that like go off into far off lands where there's no electricity and crazy mosquitoes and disease, and they're passing out Bibles or preaching to people that really don't even really know the language. So, and then obviously as I grew up, I've been on quite a few mission trips myself, and you really can, there's so many different places and things to go and serve. So, let's jump in and find out what all of our guests want to talk about, because I know they've all been on some mission trips, and they can give us kind of like a bird's eye view into what it was like for them. Matt, let's start with you. Matt, why don't you give us a little background on some of the mission trips that you've been in? Just meaning like what country did you go to and what was the purpose for the visit?
So let's see. Some of the mission trips I've gone on is Come Build Hope, where we drive down to Mexico and help build houses. And I've done that one a couple times. And the other big one is El Salvador, where we went down to El Salvador and helped out the kids there for about a week.
Cool. I like it. Sydney, I'm going to shoot to you real quick too. Could you tell us a little bit about the mission trips that you've been on, like what country and what the purpose was?
Yes. I went to Hungary, and we served like in a teens camp over summer. And then I went to Come Build Hope as well. And that was when we build houses. And then I also went to El Salvador, and yeah, like you said, we worked with kids, and we helped make relationships and strengthen our partnership, and we did a service project. So.
Okay, cool. We're going to come back to that service project as well. But I want to shoot over to Ezra too and get a little background on you. Ezra, what mission trips have you been on, brother? And what was the purpose of those?
Just like Matt, I've been to Come Build Hope two times, I think. And then also El Salvador last summer. Just like what Jamie said, trying to spread like God's love and doing a lot of service projects and just helping out the people down there.
Okay, cool. So Sydney, I'm going to jump back to you real quick. Tell us a little bit about the service project that you did in El Salvador.
At this church that we are partnering with, they have kind of like this. It was kind of like a dirt like plot of land, and we helped level the land and put grass in. And so I think we're just kind of making it more like fun, and it's kind of more just like a play area.
Nice. So like an area for like the kids to play in, and kind of like a community. I don't know, like a community park or something. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yes, it was more. Yeah, it was kind of just like a park, and I think other people could use it too. So
now, Sydney, out of your three kind of mission trips you've been to, you said Hungary, then Mexico, and then El Salvador. Which one? I know it's probably hard to choose, but which one was your favorite and why?
I think my favorite was El Salvador because we did home visits and we could see like where our sponsored children lived, and it was just really cool to see like exactly their life and like learn about their culture. So I think that was my favorite.
Now, Ezra, I'm going to jump over to you. Now, Sydney was talking about sponsored children. I know you have some background in that. Can you tell us a little bit about either the children you sponsor or the children that you sponsor with your youth group?
Well, I don't personally or as a family sponsor any children, but I know our youth group, both high school and middle school, we have two little girls that we sponsor, and like every Wednesday night we would gather money in order to like help support them and fund them.
Now, cool. Now, Ezra, I believe when you went to El Salvador, you got to meet them. Is that correct?
Yeah, on our home visits, we got to meet, we met them at church, and then we got to visit their home like a couple days later.
Okay, cool. Can you kind of describe to us what that was like to meet somebody that, because we all kind of see this, this thing either on TV or we, sometimes, I know some of the concerts I go to in the middle of the set, they'll stop and they'll offer up children to sponsor in other countries. What's that like when you see just a kid on like a little card, right? And you're giving $5 a week or whatever it is, and then you actually get to go down and you meet him in person. What was that like for you?
It was definitely special, really special. It felt like, I know this kind of sounds funny, but like meeting a celebrity for the first time because, you've only been seeing them on like pictures and like on like little like handouts, but finally meeting them, like it was really special, and we could just finally picture them right in front of us instead of just like having a piece of paper or screen blocking us.
Nice. That's cool. Matt, I'm going to shoot it over to you. Now, you also have been to El Salvador, so you also got to meet the children as well, correct?
Yeah, we went and we met the kids.
What were those kids going through? Like, what did you see when you were down there where you were like, wow, like I had no idea like that the money I was given was actually either helping with this or that I should be given more. What was that experience like for you?
I mean, I knew that the neighborhoods weren't very good, but I'd never seen pictures of the neighborhood that these kids lived in, and it was like very not good at all. Like dirt roads, houses are like not holding up well, and a lot of times there's a lot of kids in the house and not a lot of adults. So few adults are having to like raise a lot of kids, and it's like very hard on them. So like the more money that we can raise is definitely more beneficial.
What was when you were in Hungary or when you were in El Salvador? It doesn't have to be El Salvador necessarily, or even in Come Build Hope. I know it's not the same, but when you're dealing with kids that really don't have a whole lot in their life, and you're there to spread God's love, what life lessons were you passing on from you to them?
In Hungary more, I saw this, that because there were more teens like my age that I could more relate to kind of, but just reminding them that they have a purpose and that God really does love them, I think was really important, because a lot of them in Hungary came from broken homes. And so it was important for them to know that like God does love them and that they have a purpose in life and that they're important. So I think that was most important, just to give them hope and like hope for their future.
Was the language a barrier, honestly?
In Hungary, some of them could speak English, and so I think it was easier. In El Salvador, they more spoke Spanish because they were younger kids. But I think even with the language barrier, I think we could still communicate well. And yeah.
Now, Ezra, what about you? When you're there and you're working with people side by side and you're building this park in El Salvador, this community area for people, and you're meeting people from all different walks of life, what were some of the things that you were giving them to inspire them or to give them hope?
You know, like just what Sydney said, that they have a purpose, that they're loved, but also that it gets better. Like it may seem like such a hard time for them, but I know God's work and how he works in different and like miraculous ways. And I can tell them that just have hope, that God loves them.
Now, cool. Now, Ezra, alongside of this, I have another question for you. When you're doing missions work, do you ever think about actually becoming a missionary?
I've definitely thought about just giving everything up and going on mission trips, but you know, the life that a bunch of the people in these underdeveloped countries live in, it's hard for them, and it's probably even harder for us because we're just so not used to like the conditions there and the weather and everything about like these different places, different cultures that we've never experienced. And yeah, I've thought about it, but it's definitely would be a very hard decision just to like give everything up because of how different and how difficult it could be just to give everything up.
No, I hear you. I mean, that's definitely, it is hard work. I mean, that's for sure. Matt, we're going to shoot it over to you now. What about you? In doing this missions work, have you ever thought about becoming like a full-time missionary?
I definitely thought about what I could do as a full-time missionary, and I definitely like the idea, and I've also thought about like what other ways could I do this full-time, like serve full-time, and mission trips are a good way, but I've been thinking about other ways, like I could become a youth pastor or work full-time at the camp that we go to in summer and winter. So I've definitely been thinking about other ways that I could serve full-time, and mission trips are a good one, but I'm also considering those other two.
No, it's great. I love how my favorite part about that is that you're open to where God is leading you, and you're also open to God using the gifts that he's given you in order to serve others, right? Both key components, I think, in a very fruitful life. So I love that answer. Thank you. Now, Sydney, what about you? I know you like to play basketball. I know you have some big college plans coming up and things like that. And you also do a lot of missions work. So have you thought about ever doing like a full-time missionary work, maybe starting a women's Christian basketball league in Hungary or something like that? Has that ever crossed your mind?
Not exactly the basketball one, but I have thought about serving in missions, because I do think I really have a passion for serving others and in different countries. But I think my first goal right now is to be in the Air Force, so we'll see where that takes me after. But yeah, I think it's definitely something I would be interested in the future.
And also to add to that, Sydney, right now you're serving in the church as not necessarily a board member, but you're on a committee that is connected to the El Salvador partnership, and you're the only person who's not an adult on the committee. What's that been like for you to be able to? Because you're still a part of it. You're still serving kind of maybe not every day, but often?
I think it's been a really good opportunity for me to learn from the adults in the group and see how the mission process works and how like the communication with the church in El Salvador and things like that work. It was interesting to make the decision for over the summer to not go right now, and kind of how like protecting them and us is important. So yeah, it's just been a really great opportunity for me to learn.
No, I think that's amazing. And I know we've been kind of diving in. We kind of went on a little deep dive about what it means to you. Now let's kind of have some fun with it, right? And I'm going to go through and hear about some crazy experiences that you guys have had, or maybe some foods that you've tried that you wouldn't normally have been on. I remember I went to my first missions trip in Brussels, Belgium. That was one of the in Belgium, and I remember one of the host families from the church. The first day we were there, they served us what I thought was roast beef, and it turned out to be horse meat. And after I ate, I was like, "This is delicious. What is this?" And they were like, "Oh, that's from our horse." I was like, "Oh."
Horse meat, really, Chris? You've had horse meat before?
Yeah, I'm a little bit more careful now when I go on missions trips before I just dive into whatever they're giving me. Matt, tell us about like one of your favorite experiences. Like, how about food? What's your favorite food that you've had on a mission trip?
The food that we had in El Salvador is really good. We had their big thing in El Salvador is pampusas. They're kind of like tortillas, but like a lot thicker, and you can like put a bunch of stuff in them. The horse thing kind of reminded me of we had flan one night, and it was undercooked, and I think that gave me food poisoning.
Oh no!
And now I don't know what he's talking about, because I ate a bite of that flan and I was A-okay.
And I ate about 10 bites of that flan.
Ezra, what about you, Matt? Have you had any crazy experiences on the road, being in missions work? Any tragedies have befallen you either through food or medicine?
Yeah. So in El Salvador, the weather is just crazy different from the weather in like San Diego or anywhere in the United States. It's so dry and hot. And one day, I got this aching headache. It was so like probably the worst headache I've ever had. That day we were out in the sun for probably most of the day, and I started the day with a couple ibuprofens just to ease the pain, and I guess it somehow just got worse and worse. So I thought, oh, if it's getting worse, that means I'm not taking enough Advil. So as the day went on, the more Advil I took, and basically at the end of the day, it was like maybe 10 o'clock, viewer discretion. I started emptying my guts. Like it was bad. And then like, I kind of realized that, oh, I took like one too many Advil or like 5 too many Advils. But it was definitely like, I guess now it's a funny story to tell, but at the moment it wasn't that fun to be a part of.
Wow. That sounds horrific, man. Like an Advil overdose in El Salvador, man. That must have been a very scary experience.
On July 4th. Yeah.
Sydney, what about you?
In Hungary, I remember the first night we got there, we kind of had a little gathering to introduce us and then the translators in Hungary. And they had pizza there, and just like they had like normal names, but like the toppings that were on it were just like not exactly what you would find here. I mean, I guess it doesn't sound that weird, but there's like corn on like a normal pizza. But they just like added weird things to like normal pizzas. I don't know. So I guess like that was their version of pizza, which is not that weird, but
corn on pizza sounds weird to me. I don't know about you, Chris. That sounds weird. I would see that and think something's wrong.
Yeah, I think they had a lot of corn there, so I don't know if that was their thing. But then also their breakfast is a lot different. It was more like you have like ham and like cheese and bread for a lot of the meals. And it was like soup was another big thing there. So their menu selection is a lot different than ours.
Yeah, no, it's true, huh? It's like they eat in a different way. Matt, I'm going to shoot back over to you real quick. Tell me about being in Come Build Hope, right? You're down there building houses in Mexico. What do people think? Like building houses, man. Tell us about what the house is actually like, because I think people might think that you're down there building like a 2-story stucco job with a nice landscape, and what actually tell us a little bit about that experience and what the houses are actually made out of and what that looks like, brother.
So Come Build Hope, we drive in on Friday, and we sleep. And then Saturday we wake up early, have breakfast, go down to the campsite, or not the campsite, the building site, and the company that kind of runs the whole thing, they provide a flat concrete slab to build a house on, and all the materials, like all the 2x4s and all that, and then everything else is just us, and we build. I don't know exactly the dimensions, but it's like they're not that big. One story, two rooms split by like one wall, and just like one flat roof. We build it in about 1.5 days. So there's not much that we can do, but they're good for what they're for, I guess.
It's better than what they had, right? But it is small. They're probably like, what, 200, 300, 250 square feet or something, maybe max. I don't even know. But right, they have like a window in it, and it's pretty much just like plywood, chicken wire, and like concrete mortar, right?
Yeah.
What were the reactions of people when they see their house, Matt? Tell us about that.
They're so happy when they see their house. We have we always make it a big deal, and we give them the key, and we give them a Bible, and we all sign it, and they're just so happy that they have a place to live and a roof over their head. They're always so happy and grateful, because the way it works is I'm pretty sure they have to like help build some houses through the program, and then once they do that enough, then they can have a house built for them. And it's not even us building it for them. They're like building it with us, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Sydney, I'm going to shoot it over to you real quick too. So Matt mentioned that we give them keys. What do you think that it's like for you to experience somebody actually having a house with a locking door and like 4 walls where they're safe from the elements?
So I think the best part probably of the mission is giving them the keys at the end, because I think, like you said, it's giving them a lock to their home that kind of like protects them from the other things. And I think it's a really big deal, kind of just to have a home that protects you from stuff. And then to make it a home, I know they provide like curtain rods over the windows, and after we leave, they help add more kind of like things to it to make it more homely. So, but I think it's always super emotional when you kind of like come together and see what you made for these people who are like really in need.
No, it is. It's quite an experience. Ezra, what's been your favorite part of building the houses? Like, were you put in charge of anything in particular, or like what aspect of building the houses? What's that like for you to actually do something like that? What does that mean to you?
It means a lot, just because it's kind of different. Like I'm not a handyman, or I don't usually like build houses or build things for my free time. So doing something that is kind of out of my comfort zone for like a better cause, better purpose, or just to help others is really special to me, because, like I said, I don't usually build things in my free time, but just doing something that I don't usually do for other people that actually need these things makes me feel like, oh, God's really working through me so I could build these houses and let them have like a better life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. All right, guys, before we wrap it up, because we're kind of running short on time here, I think mission trips can also be described as adventures, right? Like you're going on this adventure and you don't really know what it's going to look like. And am I going into a place that's unsafe? Am I going into a place where am I going to be able to eat the food? Is the water safe? Or, like I don't speak the language. A lot of like, it can get kind of, I don't want to say stressful, but there can be a little bit of anxiety. Also the plane flights, right? Like it's sometimes long. Matt, tell us about what's the travel like for you? Like, what's it like being an adventure, and what's the sense that you get when you get back home? Like, how do you feel different as a human being?
For Mexico, like Come Build Hope, you kind of know what is going to happen. It's like, and it's just a weekend and you're just kind of staying there. So it's like, it's still an adventure, but it's nowhere near the level of like how it was in El Salvador. Like I just had no clue what I was getting myself into. And I just didn't know what it was going to be like until I was there. And when I got there, it was awesome. And then coming back, especially from El Salvador, it's like, you just kind of don't want to leave. Like you've been here for a week and you're finally like getting to know all the local people, and then you got to go, and it's kind of sucks, but you definitely feel like a little bit of a new person, I guess.
Nice. I like that. Sydney, what about you? What's it like being on an adventure like that?
It's always really exciting when you like are on the way there because I think you're going like into the unknown and like Matt said, like we didn't know how like safe it was going to be or what it was going to look like. But I think like that's the fun of it kind of is like waiting to see what it's going to be like and then once you're there experiencing their culture and how they live and then especially when I came back from El Salvador, it was pretty hard coming home kind of like seeing how they live and how their everyday life is a lot different than ours and it's hard for them to make money and make a living and then coming home and being kind of like I mean a lot more privileged I guess you'd say and I mean it was hard adjusting and
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's a great way to put it. Ezra, what about you? What's the adventure part of this like for you?
For me, like I love going on adventures and exploring new places, and definitely for El Salvador, because when we arrived in El Salvador and got out of like airports and like customs and all that, it was like super dark, and it kind of felt like we were walking into something that we had no like light upon or any idea or clue like what was going to be past like the darkness in kind of like a metaphorical sense. Yeah, it was just the adventure part, seeing new things, seeing new cultures, definitely, like Matt said, changed me into a different person after all of it was done.
Yeah, and I got a question for you guys. I'm wondering, what would you tell someone who maybe is like on the fence right now that like they might want to go on a short-term mission trip or they might want to go and experience this, maybe someone who's your age or maybe even a little younger. What would you tell them? What advice would you give them if they're considering going on a mission trip experience?
yeah, I would say definitely give it a try because even if you hear stories like we heard about El Salvador how like there's a lot of like gang violence and all of that, but I mean especially for our mission trip it was pretty safe, but I think giving it a try is probably the most important part because I mean I know I came out like kind of a different person. I mean like I experienced things that will influence my life for like forever, so I think yeah I would definitely go.
And Matt, what about you?
I would definitely just say, I mean, think about it a little bit, but like at the same time, don't think about it and just kind of do it. Like if it's something that even interests you in a little bit and you've never gone on one before, just go for it because you don't know what's going to happen. Like it could be something that changes your life forever. And a lot of people think that like money is a big problem. Like these trips can be pretty expensive, but like most of the time the church will like help you and you can find sponsorships or like raise money. So like anyone who would be worried about that like they can't go on this experience is like because of money. It's usually not that big of an issue.
I would say it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like your parents usually won't go up to you and say, "Oh, let's go on vacation to El Salvador," or like somewhere where your church would go on a mission trip. So it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it would just change your life for the better. And you could just meet so many new people, experience different cultures outside of like our main sphere, like in the United States.
You know, I just want to say thanks again for you guys being on the show today. You guys did a great job, and I think we really painted a clear picture of what missions work is like. And I'll kind of second with Matt there, as we start closing up. First of all, we really want to acknowledge all of the missionaries that are out there right now, especially during the whole kind of coronavirus thing that's going on. That's got to be kind of a scary thing. And we also want to acknowledge, a lot of the missions trips that are being canceled right now for safety reasons. And, we just want to ask God to watch over all the people that, we're supposed to be receiving different kinds of help and aid right now. We know he'll take care of them as well. But, to kind of second what Matt said as well is, if this is something you want to do, God will always provide, right? And so don't worry about the money or don't worry about, having a suitcase, all this kind of stuff. If this is on your heart, I can guarantee you that there is always, where there's a will, there's always a way, but especially in doing this kind of work, God always provides it. I've known quite a few people to do this work, literally hundreds over the years, and God has never failed them in this work. So that's kind of what we got, I think, as a wrap up. Jamie, anything you want to add before we close out the show?
Yeah, I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to the two organizations we partner with. One is Compassion International. who we sponsor children through and also did a mission trip with that we've referred to today. And then also Amore Ministries, who does the house building down in Mexico. And just wanted to mention those two places. They're doing good work, working hard, and have been really good partners with us. So just a shout out of gratitude to those two organizations.
Awesome. I love it. Once again, we want to thank Matt, Sydney, and Ezra for being our special guests today. I want to thank my co-host, as always, Jamie. And of course, we want to thank our amazing producer, Patrick, who we could not do this show without. So thanks to all of you. Thanks for everybody tuning in across the world. We look forward to seeing or talking with you again next week. That's all we got for the One Amazing Life crew and staff. We thanks for tuning in again, and we'll see you all next week.